Hi, we're going to talk about the cybersecurity awareness program and why cybersecurity awareness matters and some of the common cyber attacks that are faced by the employees and what they can do to protect themselves and the organization. So why does an awareness program matter? Well, as you would have noticed, all businesses are going digital. In one way or another, all businesses rely on a computer, let it be healthcare or construction or manufacturing. Everyone has some or the other type of systems which are connected to the internet. And that's the thing about cyber attacks. Someone does not have to be physically present to attack an organization. They could be in any part of the world, and if your system is connected to the internet and if they have an internet connection, they could basically attack you. And that level of interconnection has made cyber crimes much more efficient than the old school physical crimes. And as you would have noticed, criminal activities have also catched up. uh, with all additional layers of security, they find another way to attack those systems. And as they say that as defenders, we have to be correct all the time, but as attackers, they have to be correct once. So it's better to be aware of such attacks and to be aware of methods where you could basically foil their plan to attack the organization. And it is better to be safe than to be sorry. So these are some types of cyber attacks which are very common, such as a phishing attack, social engineering attack, ransomware, fraudulent website. We're going to talk about some of them in this presentation. So what is a phishing attack? Phishing attack is basically an attack meant to look legitimate and confuse the target by creating this sense of urgency, this sense of you need to update something immediately, you need to click on this link immediately, and basically try to gain access to your system to download data from your system or probably download software onto your system, like for example a keystroke logo where it captures everything that you hit on your keyboard. So phishing attacks are different types. Basically there are like a couple of different types of phishing attack. Some of them are bulk phishing attack where they don't really care who they're attacking, it's just everyone and anyone, and whatever system they could gain access to they will. Another one is a targeted phishing attack. Well, targeted phishing attack is usually towards an organization. They are trying to gain access to a particular system and which they might be interested in a ransomware attack, which we will talk about later. So targeted phishing attack is usually towards someone with more authority over the system, maybe someone in a managerial position, a senior associate position. And these attacks are usually kind of uh, based on the fact that they might have access to the system, so let's attack them. And another type of phishing attack is a whale phishing attack, which is higher executive CEOs who has much more control over the financial part of the business where wire transfer happens, and their systems might have information about these huge transactions, bank transactions, where they try to gain access to those information, bank account number and transaction amount and where did it go and all that information. Well, one very common element of a phishing attack is an urgency. As I said earlier, you need to update this right now. They send an email, they send a link. And one of the very common ways you can find out a phishing attack is to check the source of that email. Usually phishing attacks are done over an email because let's face it, like it's a bulk phishing attack, so they kind of send it to all email IDs they can get their hands on. So you have to check the source of the email. If it is a email address which is not from your organization, if it is somewhere from a source which is very unfamiliar, then you should probably raise an alarm, contact your IT department. And even if you understand it's a phishing attack, I would say that you should definitely alert the authorities, because as I said earlier, we're all interconnected. So if you protect the person next to you, if you stop them from clicking on this link, you basically protect yourself, because once they click on that link, the attackers have access to the system, and once they have access to the system, they have access to your information as well. So That's one of the common ways a phishing attack could be stopped. The another type of attack is a social engineering attack. Now, phishing could be considered in a social engineering attack, but social engineering attack is mostly a psychological manipulation of uh, of the person working in an organization. As I said earlier, that the human element is the weakest link in any organization, and every organization has people working in them. They kind of depend on your fear of losing out on something, or maybe your you know uh, your tendency for human error. So social engineering attacks are also considered as physical attacks. For example, like someone will enter into a office building where they're not authorized to be. They will just follow an authorized person and they get access to that building. Or some food delivery person came in, and just they might not be from that particular restaurant, but they're just there with those particular clothes, and they kind of gain access to the building and check out the security measures or the CCTV camera footage, or no, sorry, position. So social engineering attack, it's a very wide concept, but one of the particular ways to foil a social engineering attack is to to ask questions to the people involved. So if you think that some particular person is not supposed to be there, you could ask them. You can inform the security personnel. You can ask them to show their ID, to show their entry log, to show how they gain access to that building. Who do they work for? Why are they here? In a secure environment, obviously you have to ask these questions to the people. And social engineering attack could also happen on a phone. For example, someone, you work in an IT department and someone called you up saying, I need access to this particular link, and you need to give me access to that particular link because I'm with a client and I need it right now. So particular step in that would be, again, to ask question, why do you need access to that link? Who are you? Who do you work for? We need to ask these questions because certain URLs are blocked for a particular reason. You can't just give out access to people or within a few seconds because they just called you and said it's urgent. That can be an attack, and maybe it's not an attack, but you need to be sure. Another type of attack that usually organizations face is a ransomware attack. Now, you would have heard about, ransomware attacks such as WannaCry, where the attackers basically block off the entire organization of their own data, where they encrypt the data and demand money in form of cryptocurrency. And unless they're not paid, they would just dump all that data on the dark web to be sold. Now this is a very profitable attack because A, they make a lot of money straight away, and B, organizations usually tend to pay the attackers because they want to protect their data. They want to protect the data that their clients entrusted them with. They want to protect their trade secrets. They want to protect their employee sensitive information. They want to, but it's a circle where people say that if you don't pay them, they won't carry out such attacks because it's not profitable anymore. But they carry out these attacks because people pay them, because people have to pay them. It's a loop. But ransomware attacks are also very popular, and it kind of is at a higher level than a phishing attack. It doesn't directly affect an employee, but it's usually conducted through an employee or through a loophole left behind by an employee. So these are some of the attacks that employees in a particular organization should be definitely aware of and keep their eyes out for. Thank you.